My name is Susan Elizabeth Ryan, and I'm a professor of art history in the School of Art. I've been a member of the Art Avatar Initiative since the beginning. I was on the original steering committee with the idea of bringing art into the mixture of media that Avatar represents. It's a difficult distinction for the students to understand at the beginning of the course that I teach called Digital Art History. It's this sort of confusion between design, digital design as in the movie Avatar or video games, and digital art. And in fact, there's no really strong line of demarcation between the two of them, but one is more oriented towards a market community, and the other is much more highly experimental, and in fact takes some philosophical issues about digital technology and sometimes interrogates them. And that's what the students learn in the class, and that's what's exciting and interesting about following digital art as a field of creative practice that goes beyond the just functional applications of things. So in some of the works that illustrated, these works I've written about, done by people who are well known in the field of, some term it fashionable technology because they're actually working with garments. I like to call it wearable technology art. But the terminology is kind of not settled. But these artists are all doing things that make us think. In the 7 Mile boots, which are done by Berger, Beloff, and Pickelmeyer, these are boots that are wired up to receive the internet. So as you walk around in the boots, you're actually surfing the net. So it spatializes the net within the real world, so that you have this sense of moving. The boots are designed to browse specifically for audible chat rooms, audible chat groups. And when they find an audible chat group, they will actually sort of hone in on it and amplify it through speakers in the boots. So what is somebody's extremely private, personal little conversation becomes a kind of public, something that anybody standing on the street who is in the vicinity of the boots wearer can hear. So it kind of turns on its head the idea of intimacy or any sense of privacy, since we already know there's no sense of privacy. These were done in 2004, I believe. And they also they're done by some Northern European artists, and they relate to the idea of folk tales and fairy tales and the idea of magical boots. The Puss in Boots and the 7 League boots and different, Grimm's fairy tales and other fairy tales. So that's why they made them look so big. That's a really nice piece, and then to enjoy the piece, you really have to actually be at an exhibition where you can actually get to wear them and walk around yourself in them. Electric Skin by Susie Webster, who's a Canadian artist, and you're just seeing the top part of it there. It's a kind of long garment that responds to the wearer's breath, and as the wearer breathes in and out, it's a great hood that comes over the wearer's head and falls to the floor. So you become a kind of blind wearer of this garment, and the garment responds to your body and it encloses you like a cocoon. And so as you breathe, you find that your breathing makes the lights pulsate of the dress, and then you begin to exist within this sort of pulsating light atmosphere that's entirely activated by your breathing, and then you also become aware of this sort of electric hum of the circuitry, which is a way of kind of making the wired up nature of the design kind of evident, and it's kind of a meditative piece in that way. The dresses, Scrath and Luttergill, are part of a series called Scorpions by another Canadian artist who's part of the Hexagram group in Montreal, and she calls these scorpions and their dresses that are made of leather and silk and circuitry and nitinol, a shape memory alloy. And these, there's various dresses, they do different things, but they all move around on the body independently of the wearer. So parts are opening and closing, cutouts are opening and closing, and it's sort of like, you consider if your dress was a kind of a robotic entity that began to have its own mind. And it also reflects back on the idea of, the experience of wearing clothes in general and always feeling in sort of disarray and having your clothes malfunction and do something that you didn't expect them to do. And these clothes do everything that you don't expect them to do. The scrath with the great red, this sort of bib, comes up and becomes a hood. So it's alternatingly, closing her off and then exposing her. And other pieces have areas that where the dress begins to just sort of open up and close again. A few years ago, I also curated an exhibition in Dallas. It was an international exhibition. We had works by a number of these artists from around the world. We actually had works by artists from South Korea and Indonesia and Australia. They were all wearable. An assortment of devices, all of which had some sort of critical commentary that they executed with the work. And we designed it as a runway show. And so that models would walk down a runway and show off what the digital devices were doing. And the catalog was published by the journal Intelligent Agent, which is this one. So all the works are published in there, along with some more essays. I've given lectures on this area around the world, mostly at SIGGRAPH last year, but also with ESEA, the International Symposium for Electronic Arts, and gave talks there in Belfast last year and Singapore the year before, and I'm now working on a book on this material.